Roger Wallace joining us from home because of all the weather there. Before we start talking sports, how are you holding up, you and your fellow Austin Texans?
No, it's not bad, guys. We got really cold. We got ice over the weekend, and then today there's still some ice on the road, and it's supposed to freeze up again tonight. So I live about 30 minutes from downtown, so I decided to go ahead and take one for the team and stay home and stay off the roads. You know, listen to our weather people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be one of the problems. So it's weird. Doesn't that look like snow-covered streets?
It does, yeah.
Nothing. It's solid ice. There's not a flake on there. It doesn't move. We've had a few of these, and it's just weird. This one is solid ice, and no, we got a lot of sleet on Saturday night, and that's pretty much the result of it.
Well, was it about what you guys were expecting from the forecast? I know in some places, like in Oklahoma, they got a little bit less than they thought, but you saw nobody playing out there in the snow. I'm guessing it's because it's all ice.
Yeah, that's right. You get a little snow and you can have some fun. Here they tried, but you have to kind of shuffle around. I mean, this was it. I'll give our guys credit. They pretty much nailed it.
Yeah.
When it was going to come in, what it was going to do, how crippling. It's sunny right now, and it'll warm up and it'll be in the 40s tomorrow. But not a bad weekend to be stuck at home watching football and hanging out. So it could be. Middle of the week, that's no fun. There's no sports out during the day in the middle of the week.
Exactly. At least you got some football in the NFL, and you also got some basketball as well. And if you're a men's basketball fan of Texas Longhorns, it feels like this team has turned the corner. We'll talk big picture here in a moment, but first, let's talk about the big game over Georgia. Georgia came in as the #1 offense in the SEC, but Texas actually absolutely put that to bed, absolutely routing Georgia, holding the Bulldogs to 67 points. What did you make of that team and what Coach Sean Miller's group is doing right now?
Your stat right there says it all. It was tied at half, and outscoring anybody 57-30 in a conference game is pretty good. I guess I'm not surprised that here we go again, right? They're 3-4 in the conference, and all 3 wins have been over ranked teams.
Yep,
have been at home. One is Vanderbilt's worst or only loss prior, and a 16-point loss. Yet they lose at home to A&M, and I know A&M's at the top of the standings, but still, that's a home game. Lose at home to Mississippi State, a team that's going to be like Texas, fighting all year, to stay in the conversation. And then you kind of understand a Tennessee loss about as much as you're kind of surprised at an Alabama win in Tuscaloosa. So now they have to go back on the road to Auburn. Auburn's coming off that great win in Gainesville over the weekend. So, here we go again. Then they come back and get Oklahoma this weekend, who's struggling, but that doesn't mean anything in this conference.
Yeah. One of the guys that you've talked about can be up and can be down is Jordan Pope, but I almost feel like another guy is Dalen Swain. He had one of his up games against Georgia. Do you think he can find some momentum? I mean, it's so hard to predict with this team that it just seems like one day, they have everything going, but then the next it seems like, sometimes they just don't have it.
Yeah, and we saw that with Swain had the career game against Mississippi State, and then he struggled against Tennessee. He's been their most consistent player, but Pope, you're right, has been up and down. And again, that point guard position, when you're relying on them to be a scorer and to be a creator, that adds a little more to his play. Tremont Mark is one that good Tremont Mark makes this team really good, and we saw it down the stretch, even though they lost their game midweek at Kentucky, but he was a guy that really played well down the stretch and kind of kept him in it, and he did the same in the second half. So it's just, can they get enough out of enough guys? Cam Heide hit a couple of threes. He was sick for Kentucky, and then they played him in the second half, and he didn't have anything in the tank, and so they had to put him back on the bench. But the margin for error, it's kind of the broken record with you guys, is so small with this team. That, Saturday was shocking, not because they beat Georgia here, but the way they kind of dismantled them in the second half. And when Sean Miller's teams get going offensively, they're really good, and we saw that in the second half. Yeah,
you teed us my question perfectly about Sean Miller, and we talked last week about how a lot of their success was product of their coaching, and I think that this is a team that might have found their identity. Is this what Sean Miller was projecting that this team could be, and is this something that can continue, or is it, hey, got to take it a game at a time?
all, all the above, G. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard his rant after the Kentucky game.
Yeah.
About, we can foul the out of teams. And that's also the Sean Miller team that he's having to deal with this year. And so it's kind of been a little bit of everything, the good and the bad and the ugly. And that game against Kentucky was, they cut it to 2 late. And then, Vocatitis leaves his feet on Denzel Aberdeen, he's given up about a foot to with less than 3 seconds on the shot clock. I mean, it just, it's one thing to foul. I think they only had 4 more fouls than Kentucky. It's when they foul and the situations. Mark had a foul 40 feet from the basket in a 1-possession game, also down the stretch. So those are the things that have frustrated this coaching staff so much, and this team. These guys, they're not trying to foul, but it just seems like it's a little bit of a epidemic with these guys. And it's funny because Vocatitis draws fouls as well as anybody in the country. His problem is, committing fouls. So I wish I could tell you that there's a corner turned or this is the identity. I'm afraid the identity of this team is they're just kind of up and down.
Yeah.
Can they stay up enough to stay on the right side? I saw today where they're one of the last 4 in for Lenardi. So again, that's every game with this team. They're in, they're out, right? Until they can string together a win streak.